All right, good evening, guys. Happy Friday. So we are back, college football week 1, August 30th. It is not a big slate tonight, obviously not as big as the massive one that we have coming tomorrow, but a few games that we will look into. First, recap of last night where we went 1-1. Able to get a win in North Carolina over Minnesota. That line did close for us at a 1.5. So if you had it at the -1 or the 1.5, you got the win. If you had it at the -2, you got the push. So again, advice, guys, always shop around for the best line, that half point or that point. While you don't think it matters maybe at the time, maybe 10% of the time it ends up mattering, just like it did last night. Game was sloppy, game was disgusting. And then obviously feel terrible for Max Johnson. I mean, career LSU, Texas A&M, seemed like he was finally in a good situation at North Carolina in a system that had had a lot of quarterback success over the past few years. But obviously now that's not going to happen this year. They are on to the backup who played serviceably, but Max had a really rough first half outside of that gutsy touchdown run, but it seemed like he was kind of settling in the second half, and very talented kid. So obviously dad played in the NFL, comes from a good pedigree. Sad to see that not going to get to watch his season develop. Would be sure that he'll get granted another year of eligibility to come back next season if he chooses to. But yeah, game was gross. Got lucky with Minnesota missing that field goal. That kicker has a leg, but clearly he was a little off left to right last night, as he had two misses, one from a shorter distance and then one from that 47-yarder, I think it was, to end it, to miss it. Then we had the Colorado game, which was a loss. It was a pretty crazy game. If it wasn't for Travis Hunter, I think Colorado probably could have lost that game outright. That touchdown catch he had in the front right corner of the end zone was one of the craziest things I've seen. But yeah, as soon as that second half started and Colorado drove down the field and then threw an interception off the foot of the North Dakota State defender, that's when you know if you're on a favorite of double digits and the other team is catching interceptions off a defender's feet, then you're probably not in for a cover. Colorado almost did it. They did get up to the 11, which would have given us that push, and for some people would have given them a win, as I think a lot of people had them at the 9.5, the 10, or the 10.5. It did not happen, as North Dakota State drove late to get a touchdown and ended up losing the game by 5, as they didn't get the 2-point conversion. Second half line on Colorado would have covered there. They came out at halftime -7 on Colorado, so they would have needed to win the game by 5 to win, 4 to push, and that did hit. So moving forward, if I see any real big second half opportunities, I won't post a video, but I'll make a post on YouTube and giving that out as an official pick. So we move on now. We're 3-1 on the season in terms of units. We move on to Friday night. Again, nothing big tonight, but a few fun plays that we'll have, single unit plays, just to kind of, again, get our feet wet, have something fun on the first weekend. Again, guys, biggest advice is always shop around for the best line. That is the most important thing in terms of maximizing the value that you're getting. And always pay only 10 juice, -110. Do not buy half points. That's a kind of a sucker thing to do. So tonight, starting off, first one, we got FAU and Michigan State. I am very, very fond of Michigan State's coaching staff. Jonathan Smith, and then really more the entire coaching staff in itself. Admittedly, right now, Ohio State definitely has the best coaching staff in the Big Ten due to the coordinators, especially Knowles, defensive coordinator. But then when you start to get below that and you look at the position coaches, especially offensive line coach for Michigan State, strength and conditioning coach, what Jonathan Smith has assembled there and brought over from Oregon State is the second best coaching staff in the Big Ten, and I think we'll have the opportunity to become the best coaching staff in the Big Ten. I think this team will compete for Big Ten titles in the coming years. I think there's an opportunity that they will even reach higher heights than the D'Antonio years, which obviously that's the best coach Michigan State has ever had. What he was able to do in the era that he was able to do it, given the competition that they had with Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan at the time is actually quite remarkable. Jonathan Smith has a chance to equal that or surpass it. However, I do not think that starts tonight. They have a home game against FAU, coached by Tom Herman. Anyone who's followed Tom Herman's career, he has a history of kind of overshooting his shot in big games when he's the underdog. Beat Oklahoma outright at NRG Stadium, neutral field in Houston when they had the Baker Mayfield team. Also had quite a bit of covers in his time at Texas when they were underdog, very rarely ever covered as a favorite. But as an underdog, seems to be the motivation that he needs and his coaching staff needs to get the boys ready. So we will be on FAU plus the 13.5. Again, shop around. There's some places where that line has come down, others where it's not. But I do think it's a situation where they will go into Michigan State and get the cover. Again, nothing against Michigan State. I'm very high on them, very high on Aiden Childs. I think he's like 18 or 19 years old, though. Very high on the coaching staff, very high on what they will be. But there's a lot of turnover in that program, a lot of settling in, first game. And I think FAU will come in and get the cover. So then moving on, and one unit play on that, nothing big. Moving on then later in the evening, it's a very trendy game right now. TCU and Stanford, going to be a late kick, 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central Time, which is the local time for TCU as they're in Fort Worth. This one is an interesting line. Stanford is a pretty horrible team. Last year they were kind of a one-man wrecking crew in terms of the wide receiver. They've expanded that some, however they did lose their tight end as a transfer to Georgia. But the rest of the wide receiver room did get better. Moving to the ACC this year, they got a pretty difficult schedule, and they're going to be traveling all over the country, but they get this first one at home against TCU, who's coming off of a obviously very disappointing season given they were in the national championship the year before. Right now you can still get the line at Stanford plus 9, which is what we will be doing. So Stanford plus 9 for 1 unit. Again, nothing crazy. TCU could easily win this game by 50 points. TCU is a much more talented team, a lot faster, has a lot more firepower, and anytime anything like that happens, if Stanford doesn't get things clicking, able to control the ball, use ground control, use clock control, things can go very bad. So nothing crazy on that, just a 1 unit play. So again, looking forward to looking forward to getting at you guys to tomorrow morning, and if I see anything the rest of the night, again, won't post a video, but I'll make a post on YouTube so we can again try and get our units up as high as possible. So thanks again for being with Bald Father Bets. Again, please subscribe to the channel. That's really the only thing that we ask. We'll never ask anyone to pay for our picks, but a subscribe, a like, share around to your friends, anyone else who enjoys college football or the NFL. That would be very much appreciated on our side. Have a great night and enjoy watching the games.